I'm the president and founder of SASCO. I am also a former elementary educator and the mom of 3. I'm Shannon Henry. Welcome to Protecting Your Little Girl. We've trained thousands of women across the globe, and inevitably we find that when you tell women that they are strong, loved, and full of purpose, some of them smile, some of them look away, and some of them, many of them, start to tear up. Yet when you tell those same facts to an elementary school girl, most of the time they look at you dead in the eyes and go, "I know," because there's a confidence there, and it's a beautiful thing and fertile ground for planting seeds of truth and skills that will help her remove any weeds in her life that threaten her growth. The details I'm going to go into right now are things that I would never share with your children. We have developed a standardized and age-appropriate system and programming that is useful for anyone to learn, but especially children in elementary school. Our goal is to empower them, not scare them. Now, with that said, you know your kiddos far better than I ever could. So if you decide you want to share some of this information with them, you certainly can later. So what do we need to know? As parents, there are some basic facts that I want you to understand. Here are the statistics as they stand right now in the United States. 1 in 6 girls will experience a sexual assault. 1 in 5 if you're in college. Every 9 minutes, that victim is a child. 6 to 11-year-olds are the most likely to be sexually abused multiple times. 80% of them will know their abuser. 72% of them will either be in their home or the home of the attacker. 1 in 3 of them, as they grow, will experience a physically abusive relationship or even a stalker. On average, it takes 12 incidents of abuse before the perpetrator is ever reported, and less than 1% of perpetrators will actually ever see a day in jail. That's where we are. And it's an epidemic, and it shows no signs of slowing down. So it's critical that we teach our children to recognize danger coming, escape it, and have people to speak to about it should they need help, and to fight for themselves if they need to. Preventing grooming and sexual abuse. So many of us have grown up learning about stranger danger, but I just shared with you that 80% of perpetrators are somebody that we know, love, or trust. Instead, we teach girls about tricky people. What are tricky people? Tricky people are people who act like they have the best intentions. They seem nice, but they don't. And we know that tricky people can include coaches, neighbors, family members, friends. Sadly enough, we must teach our children to recognize dangerous behavior cues, because anyone can be a predator, and they're good at hiding their intentions. I always say, nobody goes around wearing a shirt saying, "I do bad things" behind closed doors. So we have to teach your kids to recognize it. The use of certain tactics, particularly tactics like grooming, is used often to get what they want. Are you familiar with that? It's a strategy to lay the groundwork for abuse, and it starts slowly. It starts with small touches on the knee or on the shoulder, and if the kiddos tolerate it, next time they'll go a little bit higher or get a little bit closer to where their ultimate goal is. And they do this repeatedly until they're where they want to be. And while they're doing that, they have to keep our kids quiet about the abuse. So predators will say things like, "This is just between us. This is our secret. We wouldn't want to upset mommy or daddy or get you in trouble." They'll often even threaten things to hurt their animals or their siblings as a threat to keep the act between the two of them. It's a sick and twisted game. And it's important to note to your children that there's a difference between surprises and secrets. And hopefully they will always feel comfortable telling you any secret. So often women and girls have a disease to please. It's imperative that your girls learn now that no is a full sentence, and it's okay to say no. What is not okay is for that no to be ignored. Many people say no with their actions, turning to the side, smiling, looking away. And while those should be cues for other people to stop, sometimes, and especially for predators, this is a sign that the victim is not comfortable enough to say no. which they see as an advantage and as a weakness that they prey upon. They need to know that their no carries just as much weight as their yes does, and it should be heard by everyone they interact with. At our house, no is a big deal. If kids are wrestling with my husband or with each other and someone says no or stop, we stop immediately. And it's enforced with everyone so that the kids and our kids and your kids understand they can say no to anyone and it should be respected. And if it's not, again, there's not something wrong with them. There's something wrong with the other person who's not listening. When stories come out in the news about pedophiles, the pedophile is always someone deeply embedded in the community, it seems, and working with families, schools, groups, churches, children. People are always shocked and typically say, what a nice person they seem to be. Well, they had to be in order to blend in and fly under the radar and get what they want. It's like an alcoholic. If I'm an alcoholic, where do I spend my time? Where is it that I can find alcohol? Well, it's either a bar or possibly at home, whichever is convenient. If I'm a pedophile, where do I spend my time? With children, with families. Addicts go to where their addiction is, and it is an addiction, so please don't be shocked. Take as much time to find out about the person surrounding your children as you do to choose your next car or your next home. I promise it's far more important long term to her safety and well-being. Teach her to use her voice. Teaching your little girl to use her voice is really, really important because it's how she'll advocate for herself later. While she's young and in your presence, it's really nice to make sure that you're helping her to learn how to do this. So one of the things that I like to suggest people do is go on a date somewhere, to Chick-fil-A, let's say. And while you're there, have her order her meal. They get what they want. They get to share the information of, hey, this is what I want. And then it comes to them and everything's smooth and easy. And that's really nice. Maybe one time she didn't get the fries she wanted. Have her tell them in your presence, hey, I got a small instead of a medium, let's say. And that way she gets used to saying when something's not quite right. In the same token, you can do that at the doctor. Because there you're making sure that she's able to say what physically doesn't feel okay. If it's her tummy or her head or whatever it may be, it's good for her to say what hurts and then see that people respond by wanting to help. That way you're setting up that when she shares something that's physically uncomfortable or a need that they have and the other person chooses to ignore it, again, they'll know there's not something wrong with me, there's something wrong with the other person. Also, while we're on this subject of physical things, please teach her the real name for body parts. I'm not going to discuss those with you today. You're welcome. You know what they are, but teach her the real names so that she feels comfortable talking to you about them if she needs to. Or if something's wrong and she has to speak to someone else, she'll know what those proper terms are and be able to articulate it perfectly. You're giving her a common vocabulary this way and establishing yourself and her as a resource. God forbid she ever needs to be. Also, let her use her voice and teach her that being friendly doesn't always have to be physical. We tend to tell our kids to give people hugs when they greet them, whether it's grandparents or somebody out in public. She can be friendly without having to touch anyone. Encouraging her to speak or wave is great, but she doesn't always have to physically touch somebody to provide gratification in that way. Her voice is enough. Establishing healthy relationships. It's so important to model healthy relationships. We have to show her what good behavior is, how someone should be treating her, and what healthy relationships look like. You might say, well, I'm a single mom or I'm a single dad. That's okay. There are so many ways to establish what a normal and healthy conversation look like with another human being. By establishing good relationships and respectful behaviors, you'll train her to expect the same in her own life. Here's what I mean. Within the Treasury Department, there is a whole department dedicated to finding counterfeit bills. What's interesting is that in their training for this, they never study any counterfeit bills. As a matter of fact, they don't look at them at all. They look at the bills as they are, the real deal. Over and over and over again, they study these, looking at how it feels, what it looks like, the colors. Every inch of it is noticed. That way, when they're on the job and someone tries to pass off a fake bill, they recognize it immediately because they know the right thing so well that they can't be lied to. With 1 in 3 of us experiencing relationship violence and abuse, this is a critical concept to teach our girls. So help her set the standard. Take her out on a date. You can even arrange a time for her dad or granddad or even you to take her out. Invite her. And when she says yes, you show her the best time. And I don't mean spend a lot of money. You don't even have to ask her to get dressed up. Let her wear whatever she wants. Instead, do the things that really count. The things that show that you really do see her. Hold the door. Listen to her. Put the phone down. Encourage her. Ask her questions about things she really cares about. Remind her how smart she is, how funny she is to listen to, how interesting she is, and how lovable she is. And then at the end of the date, when you get home, stop at the door and look her right in the eye and let her know, today, I took you on a date. But one day you get to pick out the person you spend your time with and go on dates with. Make sure they see you and that they hear you and that they realize how strong, loved, and precious you are and purposed, just like I did today. Then promise to do that with them at least once a year to reinforce that standard and make it a tradition so that the understanding is there of what a healthy relationship is and what a healthy relationship is not. Create that standard so that when an imposter, a counterfeit walks into her life, someone who doesn't want what's best for her, she'll spot it immediately, see it, and know again, there's not something wrong with me, there's something wrong with them. Teach her when she gets ready for those dates also not to think, gosh, I hope this person likes me, but instead to think, I hope I like them. That's the good stuff. Respect for the physical. When you take your daughter, your granddaughter, whoever it may be, to a friend's house or a birthday party, what do we normally ask them when we pick them up? Did you have fun? That is the key question, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I want you to ask an additional question. I want you to ask, did you feel safe? It's a very different question. She may not have the exact words to answer this, but kids, when they are uncomfortable, tend to say things like, my tummy felt funny, or I felt a little awkward. And when they do say that, ask a little bit more about that and see what you can find out. It's a great question to start a conversation and just check in and make sure that everything felt good while she was there. That's their instincts kicking in when they do say, my tummy felt funny or anything like that, and it's always worth listening to those and finding out why. Code word and safety zones. Let's say you just dropped her off at a friend's house. If she needs to call you and let you know that something isn't right, what's your plan? Have you thought about it? A code word is vital in so many situations for her, but especially this one. You can teach her that if her tummy ever does feel icky, that she can call you and you will come and get her, no questions asked. Let it be private and something she can easily work into a conversation. Redbird, Aunt Sophie, those are easy ones that she can say, hey, Mom, it's me. I just saw a redbird outside and I was thinking about you, so I thought I'd call. Or, hey, Mom, it's me. Did Aunt Sophie call me yesterday? I couldn't remember. And that way, nobody's clued in to the fact that she's not feeling comfortable about something, but you are. Along with a code word, it's important to establish safety zones within both your neighborhood and your home, so that if for any reason they need to get out of the house, you've established with your house and with your family where they'll go to get the help they need. Likewise, having a safe space to go to in the home can be critical as well. Practicing these builds confidence, not fear. Also, if you haven't tried it, how do you know it'll work? Test it out. If their plan is to move a dresser over and climb on top of the dresser to get out. Have you tried it? Does it work? Make sure that they're comfortable doing it as well. Eliminate one-on-one scenarios too. At this age, when they have no supervision, it can be dangerous, whether online or in person. Simply stated, reducing one-on-one contact reduces opportunities for perpetrators by making the situation more unfavorable for them. We understand that sometimes there are no other choices, and if that's the case, just check in often. Be the leader. Our children learn from us, especially at this age, in a multitude of ways. So as a parent, as a grandparent, as anybody who influences these children, I want you to be a leader. Not only in scenarios where there's danger, but also just in moments in their life where there may be chaos. I want you to bring them into your calm. For your home, I want you to lock the doors. They'll watch you. Pay attention to your children. Shut down your phone. Shut the garage doors too. These are all safety measures and that you can take, but also verify for your child just how important they are when you take the time to talk to them. When you're out and about, park near the light and near the door and talk about it. If you feel uncomfortable enough somewhere that you want to leave, explain in a simple way that your tummy felt funny about something, or that your instincts just went off, and that you want to be safe and you'll come back to that space later, on another day maybe. Pay attention to your surroundings and talk about it out loud. Ask them to do the same. You can do it in the car line, you can do it in the store, you can do it in the movie theater or in the mall. Think about an escape route. Talk about it. It's 2021. And as much as we'd love for shootings to disappear, hope is not a plan. Teach your children now how to escape and not freeze when it matters most. Look for exits and show them where they are too. In the neighborhood, I'd like to encourage you not to let your children walk around the neighborhood unattended, or at least make sure that they have eyes on them all the time. It only takes a second for someone to grab them, and that's a lifetime of you sitting awake in your bed wondering where they are, and it's just not worth it. In closing, everything we've talked about so far is meant to build up their ability to assess risk for themselves and execute a plan to ensure their safety. You'll sleep a lot better when they go off to live their own lives, knowing that you've reinforced this for years. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at team@sasco.org. We are always here to help you protect the child.